Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Zimbabwe. Welcome to this wonderful space. My name is Ebet Nyarwata, your host, where we are going to discuss the ongoing uh, clashes that have been happening between award-winning journalist Hopo Chungono and advocate Nelson Chamisa, the opposition leader. We know that there have been clashes for some time now, and they resulted in a certain time where advocate Nelson Chamisa actually blocked Hopo Chungono, and then he unblocked him again. And recently, um, Obo Chungono did a criticism on Nelson Chamisa. I think it's yesterday, which was the anniversary of the August 1 uh, August 1 shootings, whereby Obo Chungono criticized Chamisa of calling people stupid when he was making a presentation uh, in front of the Moslante Commission. And today the advocate posted something, and then somebody, in response to what the advocate had posted, went on to say that Obo Chingono is after your head, referring to advocate Nelson Chamisa. And the person alluded that Opo Chingono preferred Tendai BT to lead the opposition, and that the advocate must not be discouraged. In response, the advocate said that Hopo Chungono needs help, needs to be prayed for. And he goes on to say tribalism is a very acute ailment and a dangerous disease. So it then implies that Nelson Chamisa was referring to Hopo Chungono as being driven by tribalism in his criticism of Nelson Chamisa. So this is where it has escalated, ladies and gentlemen. There has been sharp differences between Nelson Chamisa and um, Hopo Chingono in terms of how they view, you know, the way forward in terms of opposition politics in Zimbabwe, the role of opposition politics, what Chamisa is was supposed to be doing. We know that Opo Chungono has been giving stinging operation in terms of how Nelson Chamisa handled himself, how he executed opposition politics, how he exited from the Triple C, etc., etc. Even going back to the issue of the structures before Nelson Chamisa left the Triple C, we know that Hopo Chungono has been a fierce critic of Nelson Chamisa. And this has received a different or mixed response to what Nelson Chamisa actually, said. If you go under that tweet, I've posted a screenshot of what Nelson Chamisa said. But if you go under a tweet where Nelson Chamisa was actually talking about uh, pastors for that, pastors for this, he said in his tweet that it must come to an end where people must stop talking about pastors for this, pastors for that, business for that, business for that. Obviously, he was referring to pastors for ED, businesses for ED, etc., etc. And in that post, he says that um, people must preach the true gospel, and the church must never be in the pockets of politicians. He goes on to say the church must be a prophetic voice and watchtower, being incorruptible, not bribable. The body of Christ must pivot. Uncontaminated personal must not pivot. I'll take it again. The body of Christ must not pivot on contaminated personal gain or corrupted prosperity. Let the church speak truth to power. Isaiah 56, verses 9 to 12. Blessed Sabbath, NC, hashtag God is in it. So this is the post that Nelson Chamisa actually posted earlier in the morning, which ended up precipitating what Hopo Chungono ended up posting and saying that uh, you know, you need to pray for Hopo Chungono, and he alludes to the idea that he is being driven by tribalism. So, your thoughts? What could have facilitated the idea that Nelson Chamisa feels that Hopo Chungono is being driven by tribalism? Is it their personal interaction that has happened where Hopo Chungono probably is being driven by tribal differences? What has made Nelson Chamisa to arrive to that point that Hopo Chungono is a tribalist, and definitely then his criticism is based on tribal differences? So, yes, we know that Nelson Chamisa belongs to the Karanga tribe, and Opo Chingono is from Murewa, who grew up under the Zezuru tribe, but his lineage, he traces his lineage from Manicaland. That's where Opo Chingono, actually, his ancestors come from. So I want your thoughts in the spat that has been happening between Nelson Chamisa and Hopo Chingono. What is your take in regard to the spate that has been happening between the two? Are there some underlying tones of tribalism that Nelson Chamisa, is alleging that influences Opo Chingono's criticism? Is it that there is something that we don't know? What do you think about the tug of war that has been happening between Nelson Chamisa and Hopo Chingono, which actually resulted in uh, a certain period where Nelson Chamisa actually blocked Hopo Chingono, and Hopo Chingono could not access Nelson Chamisa's tweets, or to comment on Nelson Chamisa's tweets. So, welcome, child of Zimbabwe. Welcome, Joe Twala, Denford, Tekmo, Simba, Gumbi. Welcome on this wonderful day. You are free to request the mic to speak what you think regarding this, or I'll just pass on the mic to you. If you are comfortable, you can just grab the mic and shoot away in terms of what you think. If you are not comfortable, you can just ignore it and remain as a speaker. But it would be very good to hear from individuals what they think in this, dispensation of the democratic revolution and opposition politics. It seems that in opposition politics, it never rains, but it pours when it comes to differences and fights that have been happening in the opposition politics. We have seen what has been happening, with the MDC ever since it was formed, the split that happened in the MDC itself into various formations, which included the MDC 99, Job Scala, Nyara Ziguisai, going that side, going to form his own, opposition formation. We saw also Tendai Biti forming his own outfit. We saw Washman Nube and Atham Tambara forming their own outfit. And then as time went on with the death of Morgan Trangirai, we also saw further splinters between Tokozani Kupe and Nelson Chamisa's camp. And after that, we also saw a further split between Nelson Chamisa's camp and Douglas Monzora. And then, which culminated in the Triple C. And after that, again, another split, which happened, between Nelson Chamisa and Chabango's camp, or Nelson Chamisa and another camp, which belonged to Washman Nube, and the development which led Nelson Chamisa saying, I am going out of the Triple C, but I'm not leaving politics. And Tendai Biti as well, saying that he was taking a sabbatical. These are the developments that have happened in opposition politics. But of late, we have seen an incessant criticism on Nelson Chamisa's conduct, as well as an incessant criticism on Hopo Chungono's thoughts, and the exchange of fire fire, gunfire, not in the sense of guns itself, but in the sense of words, where it has now reached and escalated to which things which look to be personal attacks. It's no longer ideas that are happening, but it has gone now to personal attacks and allegations in terms of what is driving people. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can request the mic to put in your 2 cents regarding the latest spat that is happening between Nelson Chamisa and Hopo Chungono, whereby Nelson Chamisa is alleging that Hopo Chungono is being driven by tribalism, is a tribalist, and his criticism is coming out of tribalism. And we want to hear your thoughts. Where is it coming from? Is there a situation whereby they have interacted and Hopo Chungono has shown that probably politically he is against Nelson Chamisa because of the tribe that Nelson Chamisa comes from? Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'll close my mic as I wait for other people to come through and for you to request the mic to give your thoughts. So, yes, welcome to our new listeners, Mofu Yemukono, and welcome as well as to Ma, Ma, Makenika. Yes, welcome to Makenika. Thank you so much for joining this space. And there's a latest development, like I said, whereby Nelson Chamisa is alleging that there is tribalism undertones from Hopo Chungono. Hopo Chungono is actually being driven by tribal undertones in his criticism. Is there something that we are not aware of that has been happening in the character of Hopo Chungono? Is there something that has been happening in terms of Hopo Chungono's criticism? Is it based on tribalism as Hopo Chungono, not Hopo Chungono, as Nelson Chamisa has actually said? Um, which 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 tribe does Hopo Chungono prefer in the political arena or in the opposition political arena? We know actually that there has been criticism lately of Emerson Mnangagwa, that he is a very tribal character, and there is also um, a video which circulated of Fortune Charumbira when he was speaking to Nelson Chamisa and Jacob Mafume at a funeral to remember Jacob Mafume's relative, where Fortune Charumbira, speaks the idea that the country had been ruled by the Zulu people for a long time, and Fortune Charumbira felt that it was time that the Karanga tribe should take over and rule Zimbabwe for a longer period. And he was appealing to Nelson Chamisa to be united with Emerson Mnangagwa as his brother, so that they could handle the country and give each other the baton to rule as the Karanga people. There is a video which circulates as such. So Nelson Chamisa, tribally belongs to the Karanga tribe, which Hopo Chungono does not belong there. So could it be that there has been accusation? What is it that could have been said in exchange between Nelson Chamisa and Hopo Chungono personally? It's something which is worrying when there are things like that, when accusation begins to fly that someone is tribal. What is it that has actually been happening in the opposition politics? Is it something? Is it a can of worms which is actually being opened of something which has been happening behind the curtains that we have not been aware of? Could it be that the opposition has actually had problems of splitting based on tribal lines? Is it a revelation that we are getting from Nelson Chamisa that the opposition has actually been splitting along tribal lines? Where has this come from? So please, you can grab the mic, as I said, so that you can also now give your thoughts regarding this as I await for you to make your inputs. I don't have anything to say. I don't have inner details. I've just opened this, this space to hear your thoughts. It's not that I have a certain information. I just want to hear your thoughts. So I'm going to close the mic and give an opportunity for people to come up and make their presentation.
Hear anything you're saying. I'm not sure. Is it your internet connection? It's your voice is coming out very broken. Apologies.
Okay, let me try again. Am I clear to you now?
It's like it's cutting. Uh,
Let
I'm
me
on a
change my
strong network.
position. Let
I'm
me
not sure
change
about
my
your network, but
position,
it is
perhaps.
it's cutting. Sorry.
Doctor, can you hear me again now? It seems Mercy is getting me clearly. Doctor, are you getting me?
Yeah, it's cutting. I think even Marcy is agreeing with me. It's cutting very much.
Okay. The 100, Mercy, if you are hearing me nicely, yeah, Mercy is saying she can hear me nicely. Maybe on your end, can you change your position?
Sorry, advocate. I was struggling to follow you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, although you are distant, but I can hear you.
Yeah. So yeah, we can't hear you. Sorry about that. It's cutting. We didn't hear anything you said.
Okay. Guys, on the space, give 100 if you can hear me. People on the space, can you hear me? Otherwise, I have to shift a little bit. Okay, let me shift again a little bit my position. So that, yeah, it seems people can hear me now. Doctor, people can hear me. Can you hear me, doctor?
On my end, it's still doing the same thing. I don't know about others, but it's your voice is cutting. Usually, when that happens, it's usually got to do with internet speed.
Okay, but just go ahead with your presentation because I can hear you. People can hear me, and people can hear you again. Just go ahead with your presentation, doctor.
We
Welcome,
can
Mercy.
hear.
You can tell the
We can,
doctor to go ahead because it seems
yeah,
me and him, the connection is a little bit of a problem.
yeah. I think it's on his side. We can hear both of you perfectly. No interruptions, no disruption, nothing. It's clear.
Okay, I can hear
Yeah,
Mercy.
it seems.
Mercy, I heard everything you said. I think it's only advocate, but I heard that, Mercy. I heard everything you said.
Okay. Go ahead then because people can hear both me and you. You can go ahead.
But
Doctor.
perhaps just for just to repeat what I had said, it was just a question, and you were about to answer it. That's the response I didn't get. It was just a question on where exactly is the tribalism. the actual tribalism accusation itself? Is there a tweet or was anything said? That's the question I just posed. I wanted an answer on that.
Okay, I think the best thing is Mercy, if you can pass on. I think Mercy had my answer. If she could pass on once she comes on the podium. But yeah, Mercy, maybe you had my answer to the doctor. It could help if you can be the intermediary. Then the doctor can present himself so that we can move. Welcome, Mercy.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly.
Yeah, I think with the question by the doctor, I think it's confusing. I think it did that to me as well. When I read it, I was like, tribalism. Then I remembered, oh no, tribalism in Zimbabwe does not only mean the usual Ndebele Shona. There is other tribalism. So I think what Nelson Chamisa is alluding to is the other tribalism between the other groups. So there is tribalism between Karangas and Zezurus, the Manikas versus the what, the Kutu group versus. So people get confused immediately they hear tribalism in Zimbabwe. They center it to Ndebele Shona. There are other types of tribalism, and I think maybe he's alluding to Hopewell Chinono picking a tribal line, and hence the fight with Nelson Chamisa. His preference lies with another side. So that's the tribalism we can explore. Kuti, who does he believe Hopewell Chinono is siding with? Yeah, it can get confusing. I did that as well. I'm like, Chinono? Oh, have I heard him? Yeah, there are other types of tribalism in Zim.
Okay, understood, Mercy. Thank you so much. I completely get that there are varying types of tribalism. But my question is, what did let me put it this way: what did Hopewell say that indicates tribalism? If I can put it that way, as in what did Hopewell say, and why is Nelson coming up with this accusation? Is there a tweet? What is the evidence? Basically, that's what I'm trying to understand.
That is a good question that we all have, Dr. Ansasa, and we can only speculate that what is it that Hopo Chingono has said or done to indicate that there is tribalism? Is it that uh, Nelson Chamisa has just seen that Hopo Chingono treats some certain political players within the opposition with kid gloves? He doesn't criticize them so much because what is interesting, the tweet came under a tweet by someone who says that Hopo Chingono doesn't criticize Tendai Biti that much. So it means that there is an allusion that Hopo Chingono might be leaning on Tendai Biti because Tendai Biti belongs to a different tribe that Nelson Chamisa does not belong to, and perchance Tendai Biti might be belonging to the tribe that Hopo Chingono belongs to. Remember what Masi said. You have Karanga tribe, you have Manyika tribe, you have Zezuru, etc. All those are tribes. And could it be that Nelson Chamisa is feeling that the same criticism which was supposed to be accorded to other political players is not happening to the other political players because of their tribe that they belong to? Remember, there has been an issue of the Karanga dynasty formation, whereby Fortune Charumbira comes out and says that, the Zezuru have ruled Zimbabwe for a long time. He's speaking at the funeral, Jacob Mafume's funeral. So not Jacob, sorry, not Jacob Mafume's funeral. The funeral of the relative of Jacob Mafume, which circulated somewhere in 2023. And then Fortune Charumbira goes on to say, the Karanga have been suppressed for a long time. The Zezuru have been on top. So you, Nelson Chamisa, you are a brother to Emerson Mnangagwa. I'm a Karanga. Mafume is a Karanga. Why must we fight? Why don't we make a formation as the Karanga and rule for a long time? Don't fight your brother. He goes on to speak about suspension of elections. Let's not fight on elections. Then when it's your time, we leave it to you so that we can perpetuate Karanga domination in the Zimbabwean presidency, just like Mugabe did. Remember that Mugabe ruled for a very long time. And we know that also the vice president, Chiwenga, is also from the Zezuru tribe. So could there be undertones that there's something that has been happening in the opposition political circles, whereby there've been tug of war of criticism and advancement based on tribal politics? But we don't have a tweet from Opo Chungono, which is so blatant that he speaks of, you are Mukaranga or what? Is it something that could have been exchanged behind the scenes? Yes, doctor.
Okay. I think, advocate, let me try leaving the space and coming back, because I can't get your submissions and I really want to hear what you have to say. So I'll be back. Please excuse me. I'll be back.
Oh, okay, thank you. In that case, now I think we can move to Mercy, and then from there we move to Tapua.
Here I'll be betraying my bias. I've never really understood the tribalism, but I think you would have to because I don't know them to be able to differentiate kuti uyu ndewe kupi uyu ndewe kupi. Like, I didn't know that. I don't even know what tribe Chamisa is or what BT is, but from what I have heard people in comments, and I mean it's written even in books and some political analysis, that the deepest tribalism that exists systemically is amongst the Shona groups. So I never take it lightly when people say it. I mean, even when Mnangagwa came in, there was a heavy tribal connotation to how he chose his cabinet and the people he puts around. And so he may not be stepping on nothing. There could be something that he possibly has analyzed in how Hopewell is moving. I don't know whether it goes beyond BT, because Nelson would have known Hopewell from a while, analyzing their politics.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Mercy, just to give a rundown on the tribalism that you want to understand. Most people, they don't know that it's even much deeper and more toxic than any other tribalism that can actually occur in Zimbabwe. It is the tribalism which saw the death of Herbert Chitepo. It is the tribalism which saw the death of Tongogara. It is the tribalism which saw the deposition of Ndabanigi Stole from the ZANU leadership. So this tribalism has been running so deep even since the time of the war that people, they know each other. Like Mnangagwa is put that side of the Karangas. So you would have Mnangagwa and Tongogara coming from that side of the Karangas. And within ZANU PF itself, again, you have Sitole coming from Manicaland, although he's not Manika, but he's from Manicaland, he's Ndau. Then you would have Herbert Chitepo, who is Manika. Then you would have people like Robert Mugabe, Takawira, who is this Rex Nongo, who is Solomon Mjuru, being Zezuru. So the tug of war started long back, and it's what leads Rex Nongo actually nominating Robert Mugabe as a guy from his Zulu tribe to take up the leadership. And there is accusation that Herbert Chitepo was actually assassinated, him coming from the Manika side. So if you take the map of Zimbabwe, you see that Masvingo is what you can just term as predominantly Karanga. Okay, although there's a touch of few smaller groups who are Ndau, not Ndau, Changan, or you can say Tsonga, etc, etc. Then if you go to Manicaland, that's where you find predominantly Manyika, and then also the Ndau tribe of Stole. If you move now this side of where this guy Kasukwere comes from, and Bodagezi, you start finding now the Korekore tribe, Mount Darwin, Mutoko, I think what we can call Marsh East. Marsh Central is where you find the Zezuru tribe, which you find now there is Harare, and these Marsh Central areas, Murewa, etc. So this is basically what the groupings are in terms of tribalism, and it has been more poisonous than any other tribal differences that people can think of. So it even resulted in alleged deaths and killings within ZANU PF itself. And there's been this tug of war ever since 1980, which led to people like Edgar Tekere also fighting to rise to the helm of ZANU PF. And you see them even forming Zoom. And there has been that thing that ZANU PF has actually been dominated by the Zezuru Karanga axis. I hope I have helped in terms of not just you, but other people, how the tribal drift has been so deep to the extent that it has spilled as well as to the opposition. You can come in, Mercy. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking in my head. That I think maybe Nelson Chamisa is opening up a discussion to explore these things, because on the surface people run to saying what are the comments Hopewell has said, but I think from the comment he responded to, it's that kid glove treatment that Nelson Chamisa is alluding to. Kuti, Zoma criticism is zvakuti wandira paside apa because une bias ye tribe. So it would have to be people who've been watching to see how Hopewell has been dealing with the other tribe. But on the surface, for me, I had not picked that up. But I'm sure others maybe can say, I don't know. But now when you're saying because BT and Hopewell share the tribe, maybe he's alluding to that. Kuti I'm one zero because the tribesmen wake inini andisi. That's why he's attacking me constantly. But then what would we say when Hopewell used to be Nelson Chamisa camp?
Exactly, a good question, Mercy. What when they used to be sitting together, dining together, what was it? Why should the tribalism come today? That's a very good question. Could it be you draw your enemy closer so that you can destroy him? Is that what Nelson Chamisa is alluding to? Has he discovered something?
Maybe you do draw him closer to get your tribesmen on board, because remember the time when Hopewell was pro, the other group were coming in to the Nelson Chamisa fold via the alliance. So maybe he was paving way. I don't know. I'm just indulging, Kuti. Let's say Chamisa is on to something he wants exploring. Could maybe we have been not noticing it.
Okay, so can I come in now? Yeah, I'm Karanga
Yes, you can come
myself.
in. Welcome, Tapio.
Yeah, how are you, Uncle? You're right. Yeah, I think the idea about tribalism, it's not exactly tribalism. I think it's more about loyalty. When you're building a team, you basically look for people who are basically compatible to your thinking, compatible in a lot of sense. And of course, you cannot rule out the tribal bias, because these people maybe they grew up together or they had a bit of proximity. So the idea of loyalty, let's say myself, I come from Serezi, right? Why would I be interested in someone in Mutoko to actually form a team? I would want people I'm familiar with, people I know, people I trust, because I can actually uh, tell their history. I can tell their CV. They cannot lie to me about because I know their family. We've been going to funeral together. We're going to there together. So it's not exactly a bad thing because loyalty in politics. The problem in politics is this: it's not like a company, a business, whereby you basically say, what skills do you have, this and that. No, there is a lot of undercurrents, especially betrayal, especially people who basically can put a spanner in the works, potentially. So for you to, you have to be risk averse in politics. What's your risk appetite? You have to consider that because you can't just take anybody from nowhere. You never met them, and of course, even if you're working, you're not gonna know them. So if you're in leadership, the first thing you do, you have a core team of people who are totally loyal to you. So I'm from Crazy. How can I have somebody totally loyal to me when it's from soccer? So I choose my own people, maybe Mashingo Gutu, Manezi, Gueru, of course, yes, they're in between. Because Gueru is confused. They don't even know if they are in the belly, they are Taranga, they are Zulu, they're confused. So those people I can choose from there for the outer circle now. And then that's going to be on merit for people who do technical work. So, and all the others, of course. And then there is the outer circle of people who don't hold power. Then all the people from Mutoko, from Malawi, I don't care, they can go there. And then they show that they can be promoted to the inner circle. You know, the better they perform and they're vetted, and then they go in. So you will see, I might end up having the vice president from Mutoko because on merit. But I'm not going to start a core organization with strangers. No, that's not going to happen. So it's nothing about tribalism. I think it's more about loyalty. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tapiwa. Taxi driver, welcome. Dr. Sasa, I hope now I'm clear to you. I am sure you've heard the background of this story. You can grab a mic as soon as you are comfortable. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome everybody. Taxi driver, Anzi na Chamisa ga Tungono is tribalistic. Chamisa ndio kwa gutu kusaka anzi tribalism has been playing a part in his criticism towards me. What are your thoughts?
Can you hear me? Oh, yes, I can hear you. Yeah, but you invited me to speak. Am I correct? Because I lost you for a minute there.
Yes, I did invite you to speak. Dr. Sasa, you can park a little bit.
Okay.
Go ahead, taxi driver.
Good stuff. No, thank you, Herbert. This is a very complicated subject, and I'll approach it this way. I hope I'll be understood for what I intend to convey. Right. Uh, I think it will be a short-sighted view to say that people are not tribal. People are tribal. We come from different tribes.
Taxi, we have lost you. Are you driving? We have lost you. You might be driving and you're.
Can you hear me now? I can hear you. I don't know what happened there. I was muted.
No. Your mic was open, but we couldn't hear you. But we can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, I was saying, Ebert, the departure point here should be acknowledgement that we come from different tribes. Therefore, what we do, although we try to ignore it, our actions, right, are influenced by who we are, and our tribes are part of who we are, right? So the acknowledgement is very, very crucial, and the acknowledgement of biases that come with different different tribes, right? We have to acknowledge that. So that will influence how Herbert behaves, reacts to different.
You are cutting off, taxi driver. Your mic is open, but you are cutting off right now. You are silent. Your mic is open. You might be
I think
speaking and hearing me,
is that
but
my
from
mind?
this side we can't hear you. Probably you will have to try again, taxi, to come back, so that you can restart your submission, because really we couldn't hear the head and tail of it because you were cutting off. Yes, Mercy, are you grasping what your opposite tribesmen are saying, and tribeswomen here, that uh, tribalism is very deep in Zimbabwe, among the groups which have actually been so-called Shona. And I've always said to people, no, Shona is a language which was coined in the 1930s, but there have been so much deep-rooted differences in different tribes. And what are known today as Shona people, it's something which did not pre-exist. It's a word which was actually coined by a professor called Dr. Doc. And historically, these tribes had their own kingdoms. Today, of course, we have chiefs and kingdom. Kingship has actually been abolished. So, in a normal sense, you would have found, for example, a Manyika kingdom with a like where I come from, a Manyika kingdom whose king was called Chikanga, and it's not something which is historically put down. And these are some of the things which other tribes feel that their tribes have not been represented in Zimbabwe well. There are tribes historically and even in literacy which have been propagated so much in terms of language, education, in terms of their historical context in the academic circles. So these are some of the things that are hidden, but people who belong to these various tribes, they know this. So yeah, Taxi, I hope you are going to be very, very clear. I was alluding to even what happened in Zanu, Hebet Kitepo, Tongo Gara, those people. Yeah, so you can come in now.
I'm
I hope
back. I'm back here, but I hope you can hear me now.
yeah, you are clear now. You are clear.
Yeah. So my departure point is that we have to acknowledge one thing a bit. We are tribal. We come from different tribes, right? There's no questions about that. So we need to acknowledge that I am Shona from Mashingo, right? That's where I come from, right? Um, that's who I am. I am a Shumba, right? And I'm proud of my heritage, right? Someone else comes from maybe Chief Nemakonde, someone else comes from Chief Gutu, someone from Chief Mtasa, and they have their own tribe, even sub-tribes. And then beyond this, you have families, right? Villages, right? So it speaks to what Taps was saying. It's about loyalty, right? Uh, I think fundamentally, you feel more safe, more secure when you are with people um, share common traits with you. That's just normal. Even you can go into professionalism. Lawyers will feel more safe around other lawyers. Engineers will feel more safe, even psychologically accepted around other engineers. Try and bring another the profession in there. Initially, they will ridicule it. Try and form on, or find common ground. When they, people, even when they hire a habit, I will hire people that I've worked with before. Although that is not the right thing to do, I should just hire competent people. People will hire people that they've worked with. That's the whole purpose with sending a CV. People can really look at have you worked, what projects have you worked on, which organizations have you worked on. We have all been in an interview where you establish commonality, and then everything all becomes just another story for another day, right? When you are here, if a South African pops here and they are speaking out of line, right? People will react. right? That's just normal, whether they react positively to what is being said or negatively. That even they will edit what they are saying to you
Yeah. Taxi,
in according.
what do you think could have fueled Nelson Chamisa's allegations that Robert Chingono is tribalistic towards him?
It's a safety issue. He feels unsafe. And the only thing that he's using is I will attack you based on a tribal thing. But if you really ask him, why are you saying this? If you keep using the why, you get to a point where he's trying to slice down my cake, right? I would rather Mafume does this to me, of which he knows Mafume is not going to do it, right? So it's a safety net that people create amongst themselves, Herbert. Just like opposition and ZANU-PF and say, for example, Madame Valerio's party, right? They will, Madame Valerio's party will gang up or join hands with the opposition to ridicule ZANU-PF. They will do that. But when you then go down a level and look at Madame Valerio's party versus opposition, they will start shredding each other. Right? That's just normal. It's a people will look at who am I safe around here?
But Nelson
Okay.
Chamisa himself has been accused of tribalism with the way that he dealt with Madame Coupe in the MDC fiasco over the president.
That's what I'm saying to you. Nelson Chamisa is trying to create a safe circle around him. And he uses the tribal lines to remove the commonalities that they have with the Madame Coupe. He goes down to what is the next safest thing that I'll do. I'll take Mafume because he comes from Masvingo. So we are here, we are connected. We cannot do anything about where we come from. That is the first thing that we need to acknowledge here. But then here's the bad, and the big bad. Distributing resources and opportunities based on tribal lines, that is bad. That is the wrong thing to do. That's when we need to be very conscious and clear of our own biases so that we adjust and are not shortchanging the country. Because like what you were saying, some of the people that passed on, did we shortchange the country? Because some of them were brilliant minds, right? Over safety of individuals. I'm sure we did, right? But an analysis would need to be done, right? So, Herbert, being tribal or coming from a tribe should not be seen as a bad thing. What should be seen as a bad thing is how you distribute opportunity and how you rule others if you are a leader, or how you avail opportunities for others. That, I think, is a sorry state to use tribal lines to do that. But coming from a tribe, there's nothing I can do about it. And if people here want to be honest with you, they will acknowledge that they will feel more safe, more accepted with people from their own tribe. Just like you, Herbert, if you come to Chivi, where I come from, KwaTekaVara, everyone will look at you, right? But someone who has never been there, if someone just say, we want to go when they just open their mouth, people say, if you open your mouth and you speak in Dau or Zezuru, people tend to do, people do that. It's a safety thing. But it didn't because you don't know where I come from. You don't know where I come from. You don't know at all.
Okay, wejira chibopaka ipapo makadaro. We have had you taxi driver. It's fine. Ndewejira futi iyeyo.
Anobva kune nzvimbo inonzi kwabenzi.
Yeah. Come on. Okay.
Mira Herbert, anotokuudza iye ega.
I know where it comes from. I know where Tabia comes from. He's your
anobva kwabenzi apitete
he's your tribesman. He's your tribesman.
anobva aiwa asi tribesman wangu anobva kwabenzi kutorine nzvimbo inonzi kwabenzi kunobva tapuwa
Okay.
achiita sebenzi.
On the larger scale, you might have sub clan, sub tribe, but you are all from the Karanga dynasty. So before I move to Mercy and then Tapiwa, Zimbabwe, what are your thoughts? Is Nelson Chamisa hiding behind tribalism to ward off this stinging criticism from Hopo Chingono? You can open your mic. Thanks.
Hey, how are you, Mr. Advocate Herbert? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Thanks.
Okay. I wanted to talk about Hopewell, not what he said. I want to talk about what I spotted before when Triple C was formed. You remember Triple C? He had 3 vice presidents, isn't it? There is an article that Hopewell wrote that time to say now Chamisa his presidium is balanced. He has balanced all the tribe. Whereby he said he have appointed Karen Kore representing the Manikas, Tendai Biti, the Zulus, then himself representing the Karanga, then Welshman representing the Ndebele. I didn't like that. I sensed a tribalism. How do somebody like Hopewell come with such thinking to say a presidium is balanced because you have appointed certain to leadership? I think I say tribalism to Hopewell. That's what I wanted to highlight. But what Chamisa said, I don't have comment on that. I just wanted to add on what I spotted on Hopewell as a person on this tribal issue. Thank you, Mr. Herbert.
Thank you, Zimbabwe. Mercy, it seems that Zimbabwe and Zimbabwean politics have actually adopted the tribal cracks that have been there for centuries, and some might say decades, which played out in nationalist politics. And from the sentiments that are being given, it seems it's normal. It has been accepted, and tribalism has played more prevalence, in terms of how people get their political formations and posts, and there should be a balance that must be struck to make everyone happy over delivery and production and expertise. You can come in, Mercy.
I don't agree with Tex and Tapio in their analysis of what tribalism is really. They are talking more of a bias. And human beings' bias, it can be multidimensional. These comforts that they're talking about, safety, loyalty, can be in one person, can be made out of many things. I can be a woman and have a bias to women. I can be a short woman and have a bias to short people. In one, many things can become a bias. But when we are now talking about an ism, there is this it's a social narrative which just trivializes a systemic thing. So in language, we throw around the word hebe to retribalist because wandituka, and washandisa maybe chituko, which has got some connotations. But an ism is not that. An ism is more systemic. It is not a bias, really. A bias can be, there's nothing wrong, Kuti, where you find comfort in something. You haven't discriminated anybody. You haven't had a prejudice against somebody. And that's what you're talking about. Now you move resources and you manipulate power towards something, even without merit or anything, away from merit to a demerit just for the purposes. That's now prejudice. It's not a bias. A bias is just me saying, you know what, we need a women quota in Zimbabwe. That's not taking away anything. It's just a representative of equity. I'm not saying men must be excluded from this, and I'll do anything in my power to make sure that. So here, from the statement, dear Chamisa, that's why I'm saying he is alluding to a systemic issue rather than a bias issue. Systemic in prejudice, where he feels that there could be other criticisms that would have been constructive, that Hopewell could have done in his media fraternity to these other groups. But he has eliminated those things detrimental to the analysis that he is doing deliberately, because his gaze is the destruction of this other one to create space for this one. He has not spoken of the merit of the other and demerit of the other. He's just constantly doing a demerit and to construct power for one side. That's an ism. A bias, we all have biases. It's a human problem that we will have that, but it is not a systemic issue. Here they are talking about the construction of power, and where people are trying to manipulate destructively using prejudice, discrimination, deliberate sabotage of another. A bias doesn't do that. A bias just uses the best of what makes you work better in that given the opportunity. Let's say, for example, you have not manipulated the recruitment system to entice Mandebele to the interview so that I can now choose Ndebele. It is that now I have been presented with many people, all of whom have merit. And now this unconscious or conscious thing makes me then select and say, oh, because she's a woman and this, but I have not eliminated others out of something they would ordinarily have. Or I now want to say, let's not criticize Masi because she is Ndebele. When there is something to criticize and we are on a table of criticizing or doing a critique on politics, what he is insinuating is that there are things that have not got to the media fraternity for our consumption that Hopewell would know, but is not doing so that he can displace others. So to me, that is what I'm now wondering. What are these other things that do not get, because we depend on the news broadcasters, the ones who bring us. We are never in these uh, discussion platforms with them in behind the scenes. So if media is doing a disservice through use of an ism, which is a systemic thing, then we have a bigger problem than what we think. We use uri tribalism, but that's not tribalism. Ukandituka and you say mudzwiti. It's just a common phrase. You have not constructed anything structurally that would displace me out of something. You probably piss me off, but that's not an ism. It's just an insult, really.
But Mercy, is this not a dangerous path that Nelson Chamisa has
It
taken,
is. It is
whereby
because
now it's no longer going to be political? People who belong to a Hopo Chimono's tribe are going to support Hopo Chimono, not based on the politics, because their tribesman has been attacked by another tribe, which is of the Karanga person who is attacking.
yeah, that's why it's very important to substantiate, Kuti, when you say somebody is to point out so that people have direction to see, Kuti. Are you just using convening? Because we know once someone is accused of tribalism, people take it very seriously. And you are right in that it can incite others to take sides by using a bias of defense. We become defensive or we become offensive. So between the two, now we can actually create tribalism. Does it make sense? So an accusation can itself create an ism where biases are used and they influence how we structure ourselves systemically. So he must substantiate kuti ari kurevei systemically that Hopewell is doing, rather than, because BT as an individual, loving BT as an individual, and whatever tribe that he may be, is not in itself an ism. But if Hopewell has had a pattern of support for these other tribe, for power, then that's a totally different thing. A love for one person, I can love BT. I mean, I love BT, and if I was asked by merit, I would have chosen BT over Chamisa. But I'm political. I understand that if there is no influence in BT, you go with the horse. But if I was just using my own merits, I would sooner go with BT. I would sooner choose what's the other guy? Wema Demo. What's his name? Job
Sikala.
Scala. You see what? I don't know what their tribes are, but they could fall into what my tribe is. You see, but they are just individuals. I'm just choosing them. But if I now start to choose uh, uh, Sikala, because Sikala Mundebere, now I'm entering into something else. And Vamwebese are also Ndebele, then you start to. But an individual, like an individual bias towards, it could fall into what Tex is saying. If Hopewell has an unconscious bias to maybe a BT, it could be born out of maybe he sees BT as a better lawyer, he may see BT as a better politician, he may see BT as a better a portfolio holder in terms of CV, and then he may project that he sees him as a better leader. So, and in the time that they have had in the Zimbabwean government, I think if you put them in their CVs together, yes, people will be split to say, let's take away popularity, and merit lovers are going to say, but BT has had more tables where he has set politically that are more influential directly to power than Chamisa being the leader of the opposition. At one point, he's the leader of the opposition, but external. Zimbabwe doesn't offer the leader of the opposition a chair in parliament, and BT occupied a chair in parliament, holding portfolio committee leadership positions, and he extended his CV when Chamisa was influencing from an external indirectly. But you see what I mean? So I would want to see Chamisa extend this comment for us to see what is the systemic thing that he is accusing Hopewell of doing. But the love for one person, BT, is not enough at this moment to say that it is tribalism.
Thank you, Mercy. Going forward, it seems the ugly head of tribalism is not dying. We thought it was going to die with ZANU-PF. Here it is in the opposition.
How are you, my brother? you, you,
I'm fine.
you've put it succinctly. And, it's rearing its ugly head. But we've seen it here, for example, we've seen it here in spaces. Whenever, especially like for myself in various spaces, whenever I've hit a painful chord, there's very quickly someone will say this tribalist from Matabeleland. Even when I'm purely speaking about issues from Matabeleland, because I come from Matabeleland, I'm interested in things of Matabeleland. I'm not privy in things happening Ramba Mbinda, Ikoko, Kumar, some of those rural, I've never, some of them have never been there. But I'm intimate. When you come to me, I know a little about Plumtree. I was born in Lupane. I've been to Vic Falls, and really I am from Mkwabulawayo. So I'm intimate in the dynamics and the nuances of that region. But then I am also aware now that when we go into national politics, that the administrative center is in Harare. And then I enter that debate from that angle. But whenever you hit a chord, somebody then quickly says, this is a tribe. Every time if you listen, someone will throw in that emotive, oh, you are a tribalist. What does that mean? It means now forget what I was saying. Forget my opinion. Why? Rightfully so, because if truly I am tribalistic, it's concerning. Because then now there's no merit or demerit of any part of the argument that we're having. So let's be clear here on what Chamisa is trying to respond to. Clearly, Hopewell Chinono has a criticism on Chamisa. Particularly, I would boil it down to his inability. He has been outfoxed by Ed from taking power. And Hopewell is becoming more and more critical to how Chamisa handled himself to losing that battle. And clearly, Chamisa is not viewing it as a loss of that battle. He's, spearheading ahead with different strategies, and all these different strategies. Hopewell has criticized it in between, but perhaps maybe there's something inner that we're not privy to, or since they were very intimate, these two, they were visiting each other pre-elections and everything. Hopewell has the inner sanctum of the power play within that involves Chamisa. So really, if he throws out that no, Hopewell, all this stems from him being tribalistic. When did he realize that he was tribalistic? When did he realize? So if he puts it out there, he has a huge. Chamisa knows he has a huge following out there. So, and a lot of the huge following are they just going to Hakira that descriptive statement? He is tribalistic without laying it bare. That no, I've had interactions with this fellow, and every time he borders on tribal affiliation. That Hopewell is trying to maneuver issues of power within the opposition from a tribalistic point of view. Could he include Uyu because anova Kuyo? Exclude Uyu because anova Kuyo? Yeah, sideline Uyu because anova Kuyo. And Iwewe, you can't take this because Nova Kuyo. You know what I mean? Then he should come forward. And if it is like that, it's an issue for us really to, to be aware of as we are also in that political space. But a blunted labeling of individuals, citizens, could this one is tribalistic, could Mutenda is very tribalistic. If you are not Tonga, he will not deal with you. He will sideline you, and he's on an agenda of Tongas in front because he is Tonga himself. Then it's an issue, you know. But
You know what? You couldn't get anyone better to speak about this. And Welly has been saying this thing for very long. We are tired of you Harare boys. So
I love when he says that because, from my understanding, when he is so colonial, he considers Harare boys to have been not a tribe, to be a people who have taken on the Smith administration style of Salisbury. So you could be Ndebele and he will call you Salisbury boys. You, you, you could
I didn't
you
have
could be
the I
Tonga and he will call you a Salisbury boy. That's why he doesn't say Harare really. He will say the
Salisbury.
Salisbury, the Salisbury boys.
I didn't have the nuance to it. You see what I
The
mean? So, but
nuance is the people who have adopted the elitism of power, centering the centralizing of power to the administrative center, which is Harare. And then he will call even a Ndebele person who has bought into the ZANU PF elite group of acquisition, and he will say, you are a Salisbury crew.
they would have become part of the tribe, Mercy.
So no, there are many people who have done that. I think we had a discourse years ago with Citizen. Citizen was like ZANU PF has become a tribe itself. Because if you look at what a tribe consists of, shared common goals, blah, 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 an affiliation, and an identity. So he was saying that actually the biggest tribe in Zimbabwe right now is ZANU PF against the Zimbabweans.
Not politicians
But
against.
Mercy. I concur with Zeti. You see, that's why you see when we, for example, when we spoke of the emotive issue of, like, for example, Gukura Hundi and other, perpetrations that happened of violence after that, you will see that at the center or within the people who were involved would be a tribesman of the very same people who are being persecuted by this party. For example, if you take Inos Kala, the defense minister, deep down from Matabeleland. So you see that there is a formation of a tribe which is called the ZANU, which does not care where you come from. They will deal with you accordingly if you are in their way. And some of us, like for me, I came as a foreigner to Harare. I was a foreigner actually, and I actually struggled in my early years of primary school when I came to Salisbury. So tribalism becomes something which is totally different. And I think that it is then used opportunistically by politicians who don't actually mean it when they say, I will tribalistic because urikaranga. It's just invoked to get support at
You
that
see,
moment. That's how it is done.
Ebed, you see what people do. I mean, let me put it to politicians because I think they are very naughty. They seek division amongst the head, right? They will divide you while they are uniting on what they do, right? It's very easy, and we see this being used across the globe, right? You in South Africa is there, Zimbabweans must go away, foreigners must go away. In Europe is the same thing, foreigners must go away. It's division that they're sowing around people. But what are they actually doing if you really get closer? You then find out that there is very little difference between Kemi Bednock and the current leader of the Keir Starmer. They agree on a lot of things, but they appear to you and me as if they disagree. I've always said an opposition politician and a ruling party politician, even in our country, they will be more secure around each other than you and I. If you step into their zone, they'll say, Zingai Mbunu, even if you support them, right? You try and go very close to parliament. I mean, I know it's a security thing, but they will run to each other's rescue when you are there, right? So it's a divide and rule, and I think it has worked. That's why they use the emotional discussion or points around uyazi umasvingo uyu uyazi wokubhuruwayo uyu, so let's deal with them that way, and then you divide yourselves. That's what I think.
Yes, and
Yeah, so it's
bolster
easy to
this,
it's easy. Hold on, Queenie, I'll come to you. So what you are saying is it's easy to alienate someone the moment you mention their tribe. I'll give an example. When Tegere came out of ZANU, it became, Mumanyi Gaida say Abuda. So what you are doing is you are whipping up people based on tribal emotions, which I think also happened when we refer to Gukura Wundi, where a fake Shona kingdom or a fake Shona group was whipped up to fight against a particular group. But when you go deeper down, you find that it's not really the truest tribalism in its form, but it is actually being used or abused or manipulated to drive, wages along people or to garner support. Yes, Mkini, you can come in.
yeah, and when you say to drive that division, I also want to make it very clear in this colloquial term I love to use, which mfana wokusozberi uyu. Chabangu is also mfana wokusozberi. These are the crew who make money in Harare and live in the northern suburbs, and their proximity to power and influence, not for the development of Zimbabwe across all regions, but to the ZANU PF and clique, and to work with them and to do what they do. And yes, it's deliberately to be emotive, to bring it to the fore. But now, in doing so, it has no connotations of tribe. But I'll tell you an example of someone who's clearly tribalistic. Well, at a point, it was this guy Wokuzanu PF Uyu Masi. This one of young girls and his fight with the Dudula. This Zanu PF guy. The one at first who was saying go and impress
Rutendo,
Rutendo.
Rutendo.
I don't know if he's still in that clique, but remember in his early days, he was very tribalistic. All his rhetoric was that. Is Hopewell Chinono like that? Maybe we've missed something, but
Even with Rutendo, I argue,
mm,
and I've argued with Ndebele people to say he uses emotive things, but I don't think the center is tribalism. It sounds like it, but it's not, because I've followed Rutendo, and I don't shy away to say, as a sparring partner, I've been friends with him for many years, many years. I talk to him beyond the media gaze, and the same things Rutendo will say about Bulawayo, he will say them about Harare. The same things he will say about Mandebele, he will say them about Shona people. But clearly, we have a society that is reactive or defensive or offensive differently. So he can say certain things about Shona people and they don't respond to him in that manner. But Ndebele people are also now on a defensive. So he becomes more heightened when he speaks about Ndebele issues. You read his post, Rutendo has said worse things about Shona people.
I hadn't noticed that. You see my
Yeah,
bias.
he does. He will talk about development, for example. He has this one. In fact, these days I'm on a self-discipline thing. He wrote a post and said, Bulawayo people are exactly like South African people, a country full of investment by white people, and they don't invest in their own community. Do you know he has said the same statement around about Harare?
No, I would be biased. Even if I see it, I won't read it.
Exactly. But it didn't get bite when he said, because it could be an issue of we become personal about a historic context would cause the defensive, and the other people don't feel that. I can say a lot of things about white people in my house. My husband rarely ever defends white people. It could be a position of power as well, less defensive. It's like ndoswera inini, I don't hide when I'm talking about racism in my house because in Dinemurungu. But if someone was to come to my house and start speaking about Indebeles, I would be on top of the table, defensive about it. So Rutendo, to me, I am not excusing what other people have seen as comments, but if you were really to be critical and go and see this type of things he has said about
You
Shona
see, you're
people,
being critical there. I wasn't being
you will be
critical,
so sure.
to be honest. Right there, I've accused Rutend of tribalism. There you go. And then now when we get to substantive issues, this is why we say, hey, Mr.
Yeah.
President, let's be critical.
Because when you
Yeah.
look at it as well, on a factual basis, Bulawayo deliberately by the colonial system is actually not an Ndebele stronghold. It's a mixed pot of everything. So most people who have lived in Bulawayo will tell you it's so different to other communities. In that Bulawayo mugare, muri mulayin, muri three mandevele. You are always a Mundebele, a Munyasa, a Mushona of different variations. They deliberately did that. It was their actual colonial system style. So there's no one who comes from Bulawayo who knows Bulawayo to be Ndebele. Language is Ndebele, but the people themselves. So if you say Bulawayo people are like this, you are meaning everybody. You-
And you talk about our fathers, the number of people who have settled over way before independence from Maswingo region in
You
Bulawayo,
can
you'll be shocked.
experiment with Bulawayo people and say just concentrate on your line yawaka kurira, name the people vari mulaini menyu. You will hear Mr. Mrangani, Mr. Piri, Mr. Duve, Mr. Goredema, Mr. And it would just be the whole line would be a mixed pot.
Masu unoziva here kuti Harare is also similar.
Yeah,
Inini
it was a deliberate system by white people.
my neighbors, pure Ndebele guys from Filabusi, my friends that I grew up with, pure, they grew up in Harare. So these things, it's opportunism, whereby I think when a person wants to drive a certain agenda or to pull some support from a certain group of people, which he thinks that is going to be important for his political career, he will whip the emotions of the people. It's just like the Chabangu issue that Mgrini was talking about. Immediately when Chabangu did something, opportunists came and started speaking about Lobengula. But what did Chabangu did? That is different from example what might Tendai Biti might have done when they split with Morgan Changirai. That is different from what Oshman Ngube might have done. That is different from Job Scala might have done. So this is whipped, to sort of pull a certain attraction from people because it's easy, because of the cracks that have always existed historically because of tribes. People would know that, okay, for example, if I criticize Chabangu based on merit and facts, people might not hear what I want to say and accept it. So it's much easier for me to say, you know what, Chabangula. And then you start whipping emotions, historical emotions.
Also, Chabangula was using a tribal thing as piggybacking himself onto the platform, because he started saying kuti kwange kune tribalism yakaitika in Matebeleland or in and this was systemically by the party all over the country. We all saw their by-elections. So the system was not rigged specifically for Matebeleland. Their system had a glitch in their style for everybody across Zimbabwe. But Chabangu would appropriate that in Ndebele, that thing to say, I am representing you. What we should watch is if he was really representative of this systemic thing that had happened to these specific people, those people in that area would have followed Chabangu. To date, they haven't followed Chabangu. You understand? So he's not their champion representative. He's not the one they have chosen. He just took a clique of people and appropriated an ism to make his case sound. So that's what we have to interrogate with this Chamisa statement. Is it an appropriation of tribalism to create an issue? Is it an exaggeration of something where what anatics were talking about? It's just a normal bias that could exist. It's an individual. Between you and BT, Hopewell prefers BT. That is not tantamount to tribalism. Or is Chamisa alluding to a deeper systemic issue that Hopewell is doing in the media fraternity, where his critique is definitely to try and discriminate a certain group to elevate a different group?
Signor, welcome. Nai Muzezuru, iwe Muzezuru, signoro. Iwewe mirati botaura nemuzezuru, mirati taura nemuzezuru, mukaradhi uyo, mukaradhi mai wake mudevere, baba wake muzezuru, handinyazomunzwisa kuti akamira papi chaipo chaipo.
Anozotaura kana nesu toda kutomuklema zvakasara tete vedu.
Anditi ndive vanodha.
Imi vanhu imi masvina nemahole mutikanganisa nyika yedu yeZimbabwe.
Signor, anditi ndiwe you're from vanodha. I know, fight that language.
Ndemakaranga, ndemabharanzi makaranga. Bharanzi chanetsa kumakaranga. Vanodha makaranga. Advocate David, how are you?
No, I'm fine. Mukarandi wedu taura tinzwe mukarandi wedu kuti nyaya yetribalism. What is Chamisa alluding to? What drove him to say all these things?
Yeah, I'll come back to you, but I want to say we are the coloreds in Zimbabwe who are certified to speak about Ndebele, about Shona. Now ndibvunziro baba vanonzi Mgcina kuti koSosbury ndeipi? MaSosbury ndaapa. Iwo ndewekupi? NdewekuMidlands here? NdewekuMatabeleland?
NdewekuFort Victoria.
Kavapindura vanongoti Sosbury. So it's a tribalistic statement kaiyo. Yakatosimba iyoyo. Sosbury. Which ones are the Sosbury people?
Ndivo ava vari kugara kuBorodale and surrounding areas. Vana vakupe ava. The first thing they do is they buy dzimba ikoko next door kwaChiwenga ipapo. So vaziva.
I'll use you as a lead to the story. You know, when it suits the narrative, you know, I could want someone to can my yaki, kana muri yaki. But what am I saying? People use the narrative politically for whatever reasons. Right? Now, if you say Abantu Sosbury, you are pushing a certain agenda. You are hiding behind the finger to point a finger at Siyoro, at Majiwa, at Jakadaro. But you put everybody in one basket. So that's what to me it's a political statement to say Makaranga this, Mandendere this, Mazezuru this. It's a tool used by politicians. But as you are submitting, if you break it down, because if you attack an individual, I want mileage, right? But if you attack a tribe, right, it draws attention. Just like I said, if you attack someone's mother or their family or a tribe, it is I think it's mischievous. It's a behavior by politicians just to move away from the topic. In this case, what is being discussed on the tweet, it's about Hopewell and Chamisa. These are individuals. But because you want to draw attention, you are bringing in the mix the tribal, the tribal card. Let me pause by saying, one thing I've learned on this space is through none other than that, which is true and so profound, that Zimbabweans should learn from. This system that has tormented us, I like to put it that way. If I say ZANU-PF, then what will I say? And then I'll say Zimbabwe People's Party. This system, this cabal, or if you want ZANU-PF, they don't use all these things that we are fighting about. They don't use a tribal card. Open your eyes and see the people sitting in the Politburo, Central Committee. Ask yourself, who is Obet Mpofu? What tribe is he? The controversial Gukura, one of the people, I don't know whether to say may he so rest in peace because he rested before we tried him. Innocent Kala and Ndebele provoked the Gukura wound. This Agunyama Ndebele. It's coming from a fellow Ndebele, right? But again, pushing a political narrative. You see, we have a problem. The card, tribal card, they use anybody who dances to the...
Are you saying this is Chamisa's attempt by flashing a tribal card to silence Oppo Chingono?
Oh, yes, absolutely. To associate him with the bad side of politics. It's that simple. And yet they don't care. They don't use, they don't grade, Shikananda or system drivers or the cabal. Anybody who can align themselves, who is usable. Unokwana imomo, they don't have this parade to say Mashona, Kuno, Mandevele, Makarangas, Mazezuru. I learned on that note for now. But Salisbury, Tulangia Zoti, Abe Salisbury, Lina Abe Kwanda, or Mitrend, Lingaba.
Do you know, guys, some issues, when we speak, we use language that is understood by those who understood or understand. And language is funny like that. Sometimes you don't understand, but it doesn't mean that if you don't understand, the definition of why someone is using something changes. It remains why they are using it. In England, we say the white hole, guys. Everybody understands what that means. Everybody knows what that means. Center of power. All those elite people who center themselves there. Proximity to power, you can be ani kana kuti ani. You would be termed under Silicon Valley. There will always be centers of power in countries where the money bags run, where power is constructed, and the people move themselves to that center and therefore become defined as that group. But if we now don't understand the difference between a region and a tribe, like I was saying, that people words are so important. When I made an example of Rutendo, Rutendo did not say Mandebele. He will say Linabantu bago Bulawayo. Now Bulawayo is a place, not not a tribe. It's a place. If someone says Vanuveku Harare, it's a place, it's not a tribe. Salisbury is an establishment, even Tichikura Kwai Ku Salisbury. That did not mean Mashona. It meant a place. And for the financial hub of the everything, it Ku Salisbury. Ku Salisbury. And now ZANU PF has definitely taken that system of Smith. And now we know where Salisbury boys live and girls. They live Vikoko names that we can't pronounce Isusuve, the other side of town. Vaka constructed their own enclaves where water is not an issue, sanitation is not an issue, energy is not an issue, because they can manipulate the systems of power and then make us all look stupid. Kuti imimi asa mugone kuzuitira what is it called, reticulation system yenyu. Mary Chiwenga was opening a reticulation system set up by people in that community. And people were like, look what they can do, Ikoko. What makes them able to do that? These are the money bags. Someone even made an example and said, do you know that being poor is expensive? Being poor is actually more expensive than being rich. Because a rich person can achienda kunoita grocery, anoenda ku wholesale. Overtenga masepa ake akawanda chichi, it's cheaper. But inini wema 2 cents at a time. Ndoenda kukona kumaigwe kukona. For me, at the end of the month, I have bought 30 tomatoes at the price of a masaga mangani. So Salisbury is the financial center and the power center of Zimbabwe. You can be from anywhere in Zimbabwe. You can be of any tribe or gender. But we will know mbau dzacho will show. Iwewe kana wabuda kuparliament unobhuka hoteli kupi uko kwaurare nehama because iwewe une mari. Kana tichipinda pamotikari iwewe haupinde pamushikashika. You don't understand to be shaken in the back of a kombi. You sit in a 4x4 uchienda kumba kwako une mvura at the side of your car inotonhora that is filtered unomwa kana uri kumeeting mvura ye-bottled water that is put there when the rest of everybody, and you are discussing the water problem. It was very funny one time, Bulawayo City Council, they were discussing the issue of water, deciding how many days a week they should give, they can manage to give water, right? From what the engineers have told them. And they're debating between 1 day a week or 2 days a week. And the other one was saying, none of these days are truthful, because from the engineer's point of view, who've told us our water levels, we cannot even afford to give water once a week to the people in high lying areas. So why would we tell them that we'll give them tikavhura mvura haikwire kuenda ikoko? So even if water yakavhurwa haipinde. But as they were discussing this problem of water, do you know what was on their tables? Bottled water, mvura in bottles, filtered. Yet just a few weeks ago, there was an issue of contaminated water from taps. So when we say the center of power, we use names that are social constructed for those who are in the know. If you are in the know where power is, for my grandmother, if you say Salisbury, she'll just think you mean people from Harare, because they still say Kusosbury. But if you're talking to another person who's political or economical, they will put a connotation of center of power. But we can try and draw it and make it tribal. But Bulawayo is a place, it's not a tribe. Muno akati kubulawayo, this happens. It's affecting everybody. Anova kubulawayo. I doesn't care whether iwe urimu Kalanga, urimu Tonga, urimu Changani. If you are from Bulawayo, you feel aggrieved. So we can defend somewhere based on we feel our place is being attacked, and it's not tribal. But in Zimbabwe, we now call anything that offends you to be tribal. No, be specific what you mean. If it's not tribal, it's not tribal. You can be a regionalist. But also loving your region is not regionalism. It's not regionalism. It's like in England, we have got a mantra, Britain first, just like in America. So we go and buy meat and we look, has it got the British stamp on it before we choose New Zealand lamb, before we choose Australian lamb. So that's not an ism. We are now being situated in pushing business locally. So an ism is specific. It's a prejudice. It's not a bias.
So
We
there
can
is
have a
actually
bias for
abuse
Zimbabwe.
of there is actually abuse of ism, Mercy,
It's an
for people
abuse.
to achieve their means.
I
You
think
Someone
know,
it
or,
wrote,
happened.
yeah, someone wrote, yes, I'll end with this. One of our friends who know Farira Kubika and said, is it me, guys? But when I see, what are they called? Those Kalito sweet ma beans, 3 sweet, so 3 green. England during this season has an influx of Anonzima Mangel touts or something. And you see them, Zimbabwe Mangel touts. I'll tell you, in India, I'll choose them before Chilean ones. Am I being Zimbabweism? No, it's just a bias to Zimbabwe. I'll choose the Zimbabwean mampinchis. I'll choose Zimbabwean beans. I'll choose Zimbabwean blueberries. I will choose them on the shelf. But have I done a prejudice? No, I haven't. I've just exercised the choice and the localism. I push business to mine. Other people, I'm not standing per aisle and saying, don't buy Chilean ones. Zinoshata, they are toxic. No, to me, I just choose Zimbabwe. So there's a difference between a bias and ism. Totally different things.
Well, let me start
okay,
by
thank you,
saying
Mercy.
on the poor and the rich,
Yeah,
I totally
Signor,
agree.
before you proceed, let me just organize the lineup. Once you are done, we will move to Shumba and Wise Up and Beauty. So just to reiterate what the topic is all about, Chamisa responded to someone who said, yes, the more Hopewell Chingono is after your head, the more I realize how strong you are. He will never rest until Tendai BT is the one leading the opposition. Don't be discouraged. Hopewell never mentions that BT formed 2 failed parties before. Then Chamisa responds, that one needs help. Pray for him. Tribalism is a very acute ailment and dangerous disease. You can go ahead, Senor. Thanks.
So I wanted to say on the poor and the rich, I totally agree. Kune kanonzi katsaona. You know, it's like a small packet of milk. So, you know, katsaona. That means you only buy it accidentally because you are ngofunga ukujesaza bangwayo. But if you look at the amount of money that you pay, including to oil, I don't know the situation now in Zimbabwe, but imagine it was there more than 10 years ago, you know, which makes the poor even poorer than the richer. But on the Salisbury, Mcini is here. He's now like a frozen chicken. He knows what I'm talking about. That one, I wanted to differ completely because it's a tribal statement. Takakura Nauma statement, Nana Pass, there's another one pass. You know, would go to my mother's homestead at night and leave very early in the morning. You know, we don't want to go deep into that. So, direct victim of this tribal conflict that has been raging in Zimbabwe. When we say we are probably qualified, it's not to disclose, to discard others, but we are direct victims. We know exactly. You know, how do you feel your Sekuru calling you, hey, manabo pass? Asimkwasha wagawe ni neanzatsi yake. You know, what am I saying? This is where this borrowed term is Salisbury, Abe Salisbury. It's a grievance term, which if I'm to speak about my brother who speaks Ndebele, when he's speaking to me, it's again a political statement. The reference of Salisbury, Linabe Salisbury. So when I'm cleaning up, no, what Masi is saying, yes, it could be true, but that's Salisbury. Abe Salisbury, it's a political statement to show anger and disgruntlement, to say everything is Salisbury. Abe Salisbury, if it's wrong, Asa's gonna Abe Salisbury. Abe Salisbury, and people have heard Mgrini speaking about Salisbury for the longest time. Surely, it references to, it's a political connotation. So I wanted to just
what
make
language?
it clear.
What language do the Salisbury crew speak?
I should ask you. That's why I asked you, and you didn't say much.
Saying, when I use that word in your head, what language do that?
There's no language. You're putting a negative
No,
picture
I'm
on
saying you have heard me say the Salisbury crew. In your mind, answer me. What language do that crew speak?
You are referring to the Shona people.
Oh, you're lost.
Yes.
Completely lost.
Salisbury.
Do you think they are non-show? Do you think Salisbury crew is only made out of Shonas?
It's not made out of Shonas, but
what gave you that idea?
It's not made out of Shonas, and then it confirms and affirms that
so you're now putting something into I'm the one who uses that word.
I was answering you. It's not made out. Salisbury is not made out of Shona people. It then affirms and confirms that it's a political narrative to put everybody in one blanket, because you will not hear that Abantu Salisbury from the Mabazua people. Salisbury is equivalent to Mabazua. Mabazua is associated with people who are Shona speaking. You will never.
I think you have always answered this question, and it's not the first time.
But I will land.
The statement started on
I want to land. Greeny,
in unfocused, and unfocused
I want to land. If you can hear me,
and Mgrini used to say that statement in a group that understood Mgini's hate for elitism.
I want to
and he
land
often
my
used
point.
to qualify it by giving areas where elite people live in Salisbury.
Okay.
He used to also tell us the names of the places where they live.
Hello, guys. All of you are speaking at the same time. I would like this for you to mop up this discussion. Signoro can land, and then Masi wants to clarify where the Salisbury issue came from. But I'll just give you 2 minutes, a minute each to Signoro, a minute to Masi, so that at least Shumba has been holding on for a very, very long time. There is also Wise Up, then there's Beauty. But from what I've heard from you guys speaking, it's like you are arguing but agreeing to disagree and disagreeing to agree. Because Signoro then turns around and says it's a political statement. So if it's a political statement, then it's not tribal. And our subject here is tribal. So I'm struggling to see where then the disagreement comes from if it is political and it's not tribal. So 1 minute to Signoro, you say it's political. Or are you saying it's tribal? You
Yeah,
say political.
it's a political statement used by people, particularly who are glued or rather religious ZAPU followers, who again misconstrue and they mislead themselves to think that because they are Ndebele, ZAPU is Ndebele. Basically, what I'm saying is if you check the people that use that statement, Salisbury, Mcini, you know what I'm talking. It's a political statement. You are not coming out in the clear. You are not sending your message straight. And that's what politics is, Zimbabwean politics is about. It's a mind game. To say, as you, and I don't know what Salisbury. I mean, Salisbury is a political statement, Island.
Okay, thank you. And you clarified that the apple is not in the belly. So it's a political statement. Masi, 1 minute, and then we can go to Shumba.
It's so contradictory. It's unbelievable, Herbert. Because if you're doing exactly the tribal connotations that were put on ZAPU to make ZAPU and Ndebele party, when ZAPU itself is not a Ndebele party. Now you're telling us that Ndebele people are the ones who feel like they are ZAPU. So you wonder who is tribal here? Because one, the assumption that Ndebele people would be ZAPU. Me, I've never been ZAPU. I'm sure if we ask him, Trini, if he's ever been ZAPU, me, I've never been
I've
ZAPU.
never been ZAPU,
Whilst
and
my
I've never
parents
voted
could have
ZAPU.
been ZAPU, I've never been ZAPU. And I have friends who have positions in ZAPU and have asked to join ZAPU, and I have never joined ZAPU. But
I've
you
never
find
joined
people who think
ZAPU,
that we
and I don't want to join ZAPU.
never been indoctrinated by ZAPU, was not there during ZAPU at its height. So we just keep being put into things that have absolutely nothing to do with. It's like saying now 2000 Ndebele person is ZAPU. Based on what? They were not even born when ZAPU was even functioning. Some people were even born when ZAPU, or they became political when ZAPU wasn't there. The Unity Accord had been done. ZAPU came back in 2008-9. So this is ZAPU that people keep being put into is weird. Then let's go to the Salisbury crew. Salisbury crew became when we were the unfocused. Unfocused was saying that we are neutral. And in the neutrality, they don't take sides. Kuti uyu muzanu, uyu mu triple. At that time, there was no triple C. There were MDC alliance, what and what not. And they were like, there's a crew. These elite people, and they would band everybody, even work opposition, and accuse some people. Opposition has been a money spinner. It's for you. It's a profession. Murukupinda mu parliament, and you want to be the Salisbury crew. And they would name the areas where these housing developments are coming from. And Mcini used to say, Borodale, Haggerty Hill, or wherever this Danachi Wenga or whatever they've built their big plushy mansions. This is Salisbury crew. And it was understood in that group, Kuti, Salisbury crew is all those opposition members who have become professional politicians who just want to come here and parade themselves when all they want is to get into the crew, yema tender, yema business allies, and to also get the money from ZANU. But a person will come and take their grandmother's definition and want to impose it on a different generation. There's something in language called a neologism, where a word over different generations is used to mean totally different things. Chibaba is not a new word in Zimbabwean language, in discourse, yet it has changed meaning. A chibaba in the past, in the 1960s, 40s, used to be a black person or a white person who centers themselves on Black people's issues, but he is speaking on behalf of a white administrator. Vavati, Chibaba, Chibaba.
Okay, okay,
So,
but
but now what is a Chibaba? You cannot go
yeah.
to a Zim
Keep
dance
it
hall.
balanced, advocate.
You cannot
Oh,
call
okay,
a Zim dance
okay,
hall today.
guys, I'm
Let me
I'm
finish
being
with
nice.
this. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
just 30
cannot tell
seconds.
a Zim, let me end. You cannot tell a Zim dance hauler today who has a definition of what a Chibaba is and force them to use the definition of 1940. Words have meaning in the context of the generation or the group that is saying them. You can't keep making this thing a tribal issue when you've been explained what it is. Then we will ask, what is your intention to do so? A
Okay.
definition has been given.
Thank you so much, guys. Allow me to move. I think the issue is words evolve, and probably another person used the words without the intention of what they were used before. And I think what I've gathered from three of you, the Salisbury mantra, it's a political statement, and I want us to veer back to the issue of Chamisa accusing Hopewell Chingono. Shumba, Chamisa ati anoda munamato opo Chingono. Sa pastor Chamisa ati anoda munamato because he's a tribalist. You know, your thoughts. Are we treading a dangerous path now again of tribalism even in opposition politics?
Imagine
Linjani
Chamisa, Hopewell
Mahlabezulu.
atinamatiwana Chamisa.
Linjani Mahlabezulu. Makadi Amadzangu. How are you guys? I think this is the worst statement that have been said by Chamisa to me as a politician. It's the worst. Why do I say this? It's because what I was hearing with other people, it has been fulfilled today or yesterday by Chamisa. Kuti Chamisa na Hopewell vane bifi ravo. Pane meeting avaita. Everyone knows. Wonke umuntu uyazi ukuthi uHopewell wayehamba endlini kaChamisa, uChamisa wayehamba emzini kaHopewell. Then what happened next? We don't know what happened next. It's the two of them who knows kuti vakakonana papi yini into eyenzakale. So Chamisa now is trying to hit back using the statement of tribalism. Uguti, so that to me that's what I might take to gain the momentum he has lost, because to me Chamisa he has lost the political momentum by aungati wewe wavoterwa navanhu then you osiya vanhu woti ndakumbosiya iwe ndiwe baba inini ame father ndomboudza vana vangu kuti nekuti mai venyu vaita chikomba muno mumusha saka ndakumbotiza mumusha. You can't do that. You, as a father, you can't do that. So Chamisa is trying to come back into politics because he knows Hopewell akamugara pamashona, we say akamugara mapendekete, because ari kuziva the weakness yaanayo, ari kuziva zvese zvavakataurirana, and then let's differentiate between Hopewell is not a politician. Hopewell is a journalist, and Chamisa is a politician. So Chamisa, to me, it was better for him to keep quiet than kupindura kwaita kuti munamatire. Hopewell, when he's criticizing ZANU-PF, we don't say Hopewell munamatire. Hopewell, you tweets about Impilo Hospital, he tweets about Harare, he tweets about Gutu, he tweets about Masvingo. So why is it now Chamisa is coming guns blazing, saying namatrai Hopewell? No, there's a difference. Hopewell is a journalist, and Chamisa has lost it all. To me, I used to support him, but nezvakandiita kuti but ondisiya tiri pamene, but onditi kwai andiri kumbosiya politics. Then right, yes, God is there, chose tinoziva kuti Mwari ariko but Mwari anobatsira munhu anozvibatsirawo. You can't just come and say to us, God is in it, God is in it, and then what next? Now akuuya achitsvaga political, and he knows where the masses, he knows where the masses is. They are especially they are the Ndebeles. That's why he's using that political thing. He's a tribalist, Hopewell. Because Hopewell angry tribalist. He was not going to tweet about Lupane. He was not going to tweet about the road to Victoria Falls, from Bluewayo to Victoria Falls. He was not going to tweet about the hospital. He was not going to tweet about Chabangu, Zaitika, everything. So why is it now Chamisa is saying Hopo is a tribalist Munamatiri? He has lost it all. It was better for me, he has kept quiet. Akanga azikunyarra kwanga akaita mina into ngicelayo ukuthi singangeni indaba zabantu asiyazi ukuthi yini isukaphi imbi yabo and izogcina kuphi imbi yabo. Yibo abayaziyo ukuthi le into yabayithunta bari kugwira until bauya pachena vega kuti isuthi kugwira. Because there is some people who are saying Hopo was promised kuti kana iwe wenda pinda mu government iwe tichadaiso kana kuti iwe Hopo tichita this new government, this thing tichadai. Then Chamisa, he went his way. So to me, it is being fulfilled because Hopo now akaramba akastika to journalism, and he say ana kumboita sezvikuita Chamisa kuti anoita kuti nas anoita zveshatu kuti mavara enge eshatu kuti nhasi ari kana zverwaifi kuti nhasi ari is a chameleon, is green today, tomorrow is yellow. Because now I've never expected that statement to come from Chamisa. I think I learned.
You see now, Herbert, you should do the other. You see, Chamisa is hotspotting other people who may feel the tribalism, Hopewell is to them. Non-clarified statements will cause Hopewell to get attacks from anybody.
Exactly. Because at first we started with Marcy, with the tribalism being probably Karanga versus Zuru or Manika, and it's open, and someone can come in and feel that no, maybe Chamisa is talking about Hopo is against the Tonga, or Hopo is against the Ndebele, or Hopo is against the Changani, or Hopo is against the Xhosa. He has left it so open. And wise up, as you are coming in, what is Chamisa alluding to? Because we know Chamisa is from Gutu and is Karanga, and Hopewell grew up among the Zezuru in Murewa, but with an origin of his ancestors coming from Manika land, him being Manika by blood. What is Chamisa alluding to? Which tribalism is he alluding to? Is Hopewell against Chamisa because perhaps he favors BT, who could be from the Zezuru? What is it all about? Come in, wise up before we move to Beauty. Welcome.
Thank you, Advocate. Siyabonga kakhulu. Salibunani mahlabezulu. Amadoda emakhaya, abafazi emakhaya, varume veZimbabwe nevakadzi veZimbabwe. You see, here is the thing. You know, the issue, politicians, what they do, they look at issues that appeal to the people rather, and use them to achieve their means. I mean, you see in America, the race card was used. You know, this lady who lost to Trump, what's her name? What's her name now? This lady lost. Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris tried to use the black race card. You know, saying that Trump was a racist, Trump was this, Trump was that. But people who know Trump, what Trump had done in the past, Trump in the past he even worked with the blacks, he even worked with people like Mike Tyson, promoting their fights. He was working with the rappers. So it's, I mean, if you look at Zimbabwe,